What if the Autobots and Decepticons were ancient Force beings? Let's explore the depths of this scenario in the video. Anakin surveys the top of an icy mountain peak from his command center. The CIS recently took control of that ridge. With how many troops they've committed to the area, Anakin knows they must be after something important. He tries to formulate a strategy to storm the facility when Ahsoka appears beside him and points at the scanners.
Sky Guy? You might want to check this out.
Anakin sees the scanners are warning about an oncoming meteor shower heading towards the ridge. He watches as the largest of them disappear into the mountains, leaving a trail of fire and smoke. If he's lucky, it might take out some of the fortifications. Anakin is about to send out scouts when the comlink comes alive. It's a message by the battle droids that the clones intercepted. The droid commander is calling for reinforcements as blaster fire and explosions rage around them. Then there's a gunshot, and the channel goes dead. It looks like we have our distraction. Prep our gunships. We're heading out. A few minutes later, a squadron of gunships fly towards the crash site. They find a huge crater in the center of the base, but no meteorites. What they do find are piles of broken droids and tanks, all blown to pieces and scattered everywhere. From one of the hangars, the sound of blaster fire can be heard along with the crackle of electricity. The gunship flies down and they see what appears to be two droids fighting. One of them is small but bright yellow, with bits and pieces of a land speeder around it. The other looks to be made of what appears to be a CIS AAT. The smaller one tries to get in close to grapple, but as it nears, the AAT lowers its blaster cannon and fires, sending the little one flying. Anakin orders the pilot to descend and give them some help. The gunship's turrets open fire and send the tank stumbling back, allowing the smaller one to get up and fire its weapon. The round strikes the tank right in the chest and sends it up in flames. The smaller droid waves them over and flashes a thumbs up. However, as they're fighting, several droids run up to the facility, reach for one of the crates, and pull it away.
Thanks for the help.
No problem. Now, mind explaining to me who you are? Before Bumblebee can answer, the second gunship explodes in a ball of fire, with a red and white starfighter flying through the inferno. Anakin and Ahsoka's ship take evasive action, giving them a clear view of the starfighter. As it descends, the ship begins transforming, its body morphing with countless pieces moving back and forth to create a vaguely humanoid shape. Blitzwing lands on the ground in his robot form and fires at the gunship to keep it away before turning to face Bumblebee. The Autobot tries to fire on him, but Blitzwing lets the blaster fire bounce off his armor. He then lunges at Bumblebee and begins to jam a blade into his throat. Blue energon pours from the wound as he withdraws the blade and prepares to finish him off. Suddenly, Anakin leaps out of the gunship and draws his lightsaber. He lands on Blitzwing's shoulder, momentarily distracting the Decepticon. But as he tries to shake the Jedi off, Anakin swings his lightsaber and severs his arm at the shoulder. Bumblebee takes this opportunity to jam his blaster into the larger robot's chest and opens fire. He catches Anakin as he falls and rolls aside. From the hangar, a CIS shuttle emerges and flies off. With it, the blue glow in the facility begins to fade. As the shuttle heads into space, it lands on a CIS ship waiting for it. One of the fighters drops from the ceiling and begins to change shape. Starscream smiles to himself as he watches the droids unload the Allspark. He then turns to face a hologram of Count Dooku and claps his hands together.
Well done, Count. Your droids delivered the goods just as you promised.
Indeed. With this artifact, there is no force in the galaxy capable of stopping us. Not the Jedi, not the Autobots, not even our masters.
Meanwhile, Bumblebee explains that he's an Autobot, a race of machines given life by the Force itself. He was a scout sent to search for the Allspark, a Force artifact capable of creating new Transformers. He ended up on this planet as he believed the Decepticons had captured it. However, when he arrived, he found the CIS. Anakin explains that the CIS is a group of secessionists trying to overthrow the Republic with their droid army. Now he has another important development to report to Optimus Prime, the existence of other Force users. When the other Autobots hear about this, they propose joining forces with the Republic to try and recover the Allspark.
As a fellow being of the Force, the Jedi should understand the dangers of letting such a power fall into the wrong hands.
Troubling this development is. Vast is the war machine of the Separatists. Dangerous the combination is with this cube.
With the Allspark, they could be capable of creating an army of Decepticons. We have to stop them.
Not alone. The cube is our responsibility. If these Separatists did capture it, then you can count on our help.
Grateful we are for your assistance. But finding this cube, a challenge it will be.
For several weeks, the Autobots and Jedi try to map out possible locations where the Allspark might be. Ironhide and the other Jedi strategists try to narrow down locations where the CIS might house an artifact. Meanwhile, scouts like Bumblebee and Ahsoka try to scope out possible locations. More spiritually attuned Autobots like Drift work with Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi to meditate on the problem. But the answer came from the most unlikely source, Padme Amidala. While spying on a former colleague, she discovered documents for a massive droid facility built on Geonosis. With such a huge facility, the Decepticons and CIS could combine their resource and build their army from nothing. They decide this is the most likely location for the Allspark. An invasion force is deployed for the battle, and Autobots are assigned to help different Republic battalions. For Anakin, his job is to work with Bumblebee. Anakin starts by repairing Bumblebee's voice box, which was damaged. I hope you're ready for this, B. Anytime, Skywalker. But if we're heading down there, you need to be something more than a land speeder. Bumblebee glances around and scans some vehicles. Suddenly, he changes his form, going from a beat-up land speeder into a sleek starfighter. Anakin immediately hops into the cockpit while Ahsoka takes the gunner seat. Alarms begin to blare, telling all fighters to prepare for departure. Now this is more like it. This is where the fun begins. The sky above the planet fills with blaster fire as the descending invasion force and defenders trade fire. Republic gunships and starfighters streak through the atmosphere, heading towards the designated landing zones. They are backed by Autobots, who make hard landings on the surface below to soften up the defenses for the gunships to deploy troops. Below, the combined forces of droids, Geonosians, and Decepticon war machines, born from the droid factories and the power of the Allspark, rush out to repel the attackers. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Bumblebee lead the charge, breaking through the clouds and driving towards the heavily fortified defense posts. The advance is in chaos, as surface fire makes it difficult for the Republic forces to land.
Target the defense post, B. We need to clear it for the gunships.
On it! Bumblebee breaks off from the aerial battle and unleashes a barrage of missiles. The explosions rip through the enemy fortifications and artillery, sending debris and enemy combatants flying. Ahsoka, in the gunner seat, blows through the remaining threats.
We're almost there. Keep it steady.
As the dust settles, Anakin and Ahsoka leap out of Bumblebee, and lightsabers ignite. Bumblebee transforms back into his robot form, joining them in the fight. Together they cut through the remaining droid and Decepticon forces, but Starscream sends a reserve force and tries to dislodge them. A fresh wave of droids backed by heavier Decepticon troops surrounds them. But suddenly, the sky fills with blaster fire and missiles as the Republic gunship circles the newly acquired landing zone. From the lead ship, Obi-Wan, Captain Rex, and Ironhide emerge, driving back the reinforcements. In a matter of minutes, the Republic is now in control of the landing zone. But that is only the first step. The next is to advance and destroy the shield generator protecting the weapons factory. After the Republic and Autobot forces regroup, they move towards the shield generator. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Bumblebee lead the charge, rallying the troops as they advance. As they cross the shields, waves of blaster fire and angry Geonosians swarm or pick off stragglers. The clones advance under the cover of their Autobot allies who shield them from the worst of the attacks, firing at the defenses and pulling their attention away just as heavier tanks move into position. The combined firepower of the Republic's heavy weapons hammer the shield generator, creating cracks in its protective field. With one final concentrated barrage, the shield generator explodes in a fiery blast, its protective field collapsing. This will be a much harder nut to crack, as the only way forward is through a single bridge. But they have no choice, as they believe the Allspark is here. The facility bristles with cannons, turrets, and barricades that slow the advancing clones and Autobots to a crawl. They begin to sustain losses as they advance, both from the droids and the hidden Geonosians firing through hidden caves. With the Jedi and Optimus at their head, the Republic begins to make steady progress across the bridge, nearing the main gate of the facility itself. But while they advance, the sound of engines rip through the battlefield.
You will go no further!
Starscream appears in his sleek and menacing form and lands in front of them, blasting aside the first row of fighters. Anakin is one of the few in the group that remain standing and deflect his attack. As he blocks his attack, the doors behind Starscream open, and a line of heavily armored super tanks begin rolling out. They each turn into heavily armored Decepticons, their ray shields shimmering as even the heaviest weapons of the Autobots and Republic forces bounce off them. Beside Anakin, Bumblebee and Luminara leap into battle. They try to hold back the tanks, but their missile launchers blow apart the advancing Republic forces, turning their victory into a retreat. Heavy weapons like walkers and artillery are useless and are blown apart. Anakin, Bumblebee, and Luminara try to slow them down, but the Decepticons are relentless.
I want our forces to pull back. We need to keep their attention away from Ahsoka and Barriss.
This is a dangerous situation. Are you sure you wish to continue?
It's our only shot at getting our hands on the Allspark. We need to buy them some time. B, let's get to the sky. Master Luminara, I could use a gunner.
Bumblebee drops to the ground and begins shifting into his fighter form, letting Anakin and Luminara climb on. While the clones and Autobots retreat, Anakin whirls up and begins dive bombing and pouring fire onto the tanks. While nothing gets through, it at least draws their attention from the rest of the Republic forces. Cursing, Starscream shifts into his vehicle form and chases after them. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Barriss Offee slip into the facility using the underground catacombs. With most of the defenders dealing with the Republic, they can slip in almost undetected. However, the catacombs do not look like those of the archives. Instead of just containing hives and shelters of the Geonosians, they are also laboratories with huge Bacta tanks, whose contents are obscured by the darkness. Ahsoka and Barriss can't stop to investigate, knowing that any delay can cause more lives to be lost. Outside, the Republic and Autobot forces continue their running retreat, with the super tanks slowly chasing after them. Anakin finds himself in the middle of a dogfight with Starscream, who proves to be more than his match, keeping up even with his fancy flying and raining blaster fire on him. But as they circle the facility, an explosion rips through the base of the factory, sending the entire foundation shaking. Anakin barely dodges a falling spire, forcing Starscream to break off his chase to avoid being crushed. The rubble topples over onto the super tanks and sends a cloud of dust washing over the Republic and CIS forces alike. When the smoke clears, only the former are left standing. As the dust settled from the massive explosion, Republic forces began scanning the rubble for any signs of life. It takes hours of searching and clearing rubble before they find any signs of the Padawans. Under a chunk of the facility, they find a super tank overturned, its ray shields flickering weakly. Inside, they receive a weak signal.
Ahsoka! Barriss! Can you hear me?
Republic troops hurriedly clear the rubble, revealing Ahsoka and Barriss huddled inside, using the wreckage for cover.
You two all right?
We're fine. But the Allspark, it's not here. We couldn't find it.
The search party now redirects its efforts to try and locate the Allspark, clearing out huge sections of the facility, but they find no signs of it. Farther in the desert, Starscream, battered and smoking, collapses on the ground. He's miles away from the facility, and only now feels safe enough to contact Dooku.
The facility is destroyed, Count Dooku. The Republic forces overwhelmed us.
A setback, but one we can use to our advantage. The Republic may now believe that they have won. Regroup with Poggle the Lesser in the Proget Temple. We will discuss our next move there.
Understood.
As Starscream neared the ancient Proget Temple, a dark shape loomed above him. Megatron descends from the sky, his optics blazing with fury. Starscream raises his weapon and fires a shot, but Megatron dodges and fires his arm-mounted cannon, blowing Starscream against the walls.
Starscream, what have you done with the Allspark?
Lord Megatron,
I know of your betrayal, Starscream. I've known it since you arrived on this worthless rock.
From the shadows, a second Decepticon appears. Soundwave drops down and folds his arms.
You were a fool to think you could outwit me, Starscream.
Starscream tries to shove Megatron back and throws a few punches, but the larger Decepticon takes them all before catching his arm and twisting it behind his back.
You are a bigger fool if you think you can talk your way out of this. What were you planning to do with the Allspark? Answer me, and I will kill you quickly.
Without waiting for an answer, Megatron rains punches on his lieutenant. Starscream struggles to defend himself, the blows sending sparks flying from his damaged form.
Where is the Allspark?
I don't know. It was lost in the explosion.
You lie. I know it's hidden somewhere, and I will know what you have planned.
Suddenly, Starscream begins to smile and cackles under his breath.
Oh, you truly wish to know?
Suddenly, the ground erupts in a huge explosion as a horde of the most terrifying warriors emerge and attack from all sides. Megatron watches the creatures surround him, his face a mixture of shock and disgust.
What is this madness, Starscream?
A little insurance policy. My new army. One completely loyal to me.
The army consists of a mismatch of spare parts scavenged from the battlefield, like the husks of former Decepticons, Autobots, and droids. They are mixed in with the zombies of clones and Geonosians. They were all brought back with a combination of the Allspark energy and Geonosian brainworms.
We must fall back.
Before they can retreat, a massive wave of zombies overwhelm Soundwave, dragging him down. They begin tearing at him, their claws ripping through his metallic body and reaching into his circuitry.
Your loyal pet is no more, Megatron. Now it's your turn.
The horde swarms Megatron, pinning him down. He struggles against the tide of the undead, but they begin to tear at him just as Soundwave, ripping his weapons off his body, but leaving him alive.
It seems you have underestimated me, Lord Megatron.
You will pay for this, Starscream.
Starscream's minions drag Megatron away, their cold, lifeless optics reflecting his fury. But Megatron isn't the only one heading towards the Progat Temple. Luminara Unduli stands on one of the desert ridges, following the trail left by Poggle the Lesser after his initial escape. At her side is Ironhide, who is helping her scout the area. They find supplies left behind, or destroyed battle droids. This leads them to the same temple. Before they head inside, she contacts the rest of the Republic forces for backup.
Anakin, Obi-Wan, we've tracked Poggle to the ruins of an old temple. We're going to investigate further, but we might need reinforcements.
Something's not right here. Stay alert.
As they move forward, a sudden chilling noise echoes through the ruins. The ground begins to tremble, and from the shadows, the Decepticon zombies emerge, their lifeless optics fixating on the intruders.
We're under attack!
The transmission suddenly cuts out as Luminara ignites her lightsaber. Anakin and Obi-Wan watch the hologram fade and look at each other. They track down her last known coordinates and gather Bumblebee, Optimus, and a small force to investigate what happened. As their gunship touches down on the ground, the troops fan out and secure the ruins. Commander Cody finds the remnants of Shockwave scattered across the battlefield. Close by, they see a depression in the sand, left over from when the zombies dragged Megatron away. This leads them to a large doorway, obscured by the sands. As they venture inside, they find themselves in a labyrinth of catacombs that take them beneath the surface. After taking one wrong turn, the group hears the rickety creak of metal as swarms of Starscream zombies emerge from the halls. The clones and Bumblebee open fire, but their weapons are much less effective against the dead. Anakin and Obi-Wan have a bit more luck, but they have to get in close, which makes them vulnerable to being surrounded. Despite their efforts, the zombies continue to press forward, their relentless assault threatening to overwhelm the group. Many clones begin to fall before the claws of these monsters, and just as they are about to be overrun, Anakin notices the support columns shaking from the commotion of the battle.
Obi-Wan, the columns. If we bring them down, we can bury these things. Understood.
Using their lightsabers and Bumblebee's firepower, they target the support columns, cutting through the thick metal and stone. The structure begins to shake and collapse, the ceiling caving in as the columns fall. Dust and debris fills the air as the ruins crumble, burying the horde of zombies beneath tons of rubble. The rest of the Republic forces try to catch their breath after the encounter. They all look at each other, trying to make sense of what just happened. But Optimus's face lights up as he senses the Allspark's energy nearby. The clones and the Jedi all look at each other but start to follow the Autobot leader further down the ruins. They keep their weapons ready as they expect more zombie attacks. They eventually reach an illuminated cavern where Starscream and Poggle the Lesser are standing alongside many of the zombies. Along with this crowd are Luminara, Ironhide, and Megatron, who are all huddled in a corner and left restrained. But the most terrifying sight is the towering Geonosian Queen, her form grotesquely mutated by the Allspark's energy. A droid factory was integrated into her body, churning out mechanical horrors from the eggs she lays. Alongside them are piles of scrap that the Geonosian warriors gather together.
Great Geonosian Queen, listen to reason. You must know that this path will lead to your destruction.
You dare speak to me of destruction? With the Allspark, I am invincible.
You are too late, Autobots. As you see, my army grows with every minute. This is just the beginning of the force that will sweep across the galaxy.
And what about your people, Starscream? What will they think of you serving a Geonosian queen?
And what can they do? I control the army, one which will not betray me. With my brainworks, I can even raise you, puny Jedi.
You underestimate the power of unity. We stand together, stronger than any army you can create.
Enough. Your words mean nothing. My army will rise.
Then let's see how your army fares against us.
With that signal, the clones activate their helmet lights, and Bumblebee raises his blaster. Brightly, the zombies recoil, hissing and retreating from the blinding illumination. They are momentarily too stunned to react. In the chaos, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Optimus Prime move swiftly, freeing Luminara and Ironhide and sweeping through the Geonosian guards. Bumblebee dashes toward the droid factory attached to Karina. The Queen sweeps her massive tail to try and knock him aside. Bumblebee leaps over the attack, but watches it destroy the nearest zombies.
You fools! You pay for this!
Starscream activates his jets and lunges after him as Bumblebee lands on top of the droid factory. Meanwhile, Megatron manages to break free from his restraints and rushes towards Optimus. The cavern shakes from this collision, and Optimus stumbles to the ground, raising his hands as Megatron throws blow after blow at him.
You won't take the Allspark from us!
Watch me!
He ducks under a kick and lunges at Starscream while he's off balance, knocking him against the machine. As Bumblebee prepares to bring his foot down on his face, the Decepticon sweeps him aside and fires his cannon at him. The cavern erupts into chaos. Luminara and Ironhide join the clones and Obi-Wan, cutting through the remaining zombies. They see the Autobot and Decepticon leaders sparring against each other. Although Optimus manages to knock Megatron off of him, the Decepticon has the upper hand and throws Optimus aside. He grabs the back of his head and slams him against the cavern walls, dragging him against it. Optimus manages to kick Megatron aside, but as he stumbles, he picks up a piece of rubble and smashes Prime in the stomach. He aims at his spark, but Anakin and Obi-Wan leap in front of him and shove him back with the Force, causing him to stumble around. This causes his shot to shoot wide and strike the ground. Now off balance, they rush at him, slice his legs, and sever them at the knee. Megatron crashes down on the lower caverns where the zombies begin to swarm him. But the sound of fighting pulls their attention back to Bumblebee and Starscream. They see the smaller Autobot falling against the top of the factory where Starscream pulls out a blade and holds it against his head. But Bumblebee reaches for a stray wire and jams it into Starscream's eye. The Decepticon screams in pain, stumbling back and freeing Bumblebee to rip the Allspark from the machine. As he leaps down, he whirls around and fires his cannon into the factory.
My creations!
As the round hits, the whole machine goes up in flames, engulfing Starscream along with them.
We need to get out of here.
The cavern begins to tremble and shake as the Republican Autobot forces begin to flee. The sound of blaster fire and explosions fill the air, accompanied by the eerie screaming of zombies who are crushed by the falling debris. The cavern ceiling starts to cave in, sending debris raining down. Amidst the chaos, the group hurries towards the exit, dodging falling rocks and crumbling structures. Luminara picks up Poggle and begins dragging him alongside them. As they make their way through the collapsing ruins, the dust and debris make it difficult to see. They barely make it out of the collapsing temple, diving into the sand as the ruins cave in behind them. Breathing heavily, they take a moment to catch their breath.
That was too close. But we made it. Now we need to...
Suddenly, the ground erupts and a metallic hand reaches out from the sand. Megatron howls and snarls, starting to claw his way out from the ground, eyes blazing with fury.
Give me the Allspark! You'll have to go through us first, Megatron. Gladly.
Megatron pulls himself out and lunges at Optimus Prime. Despite his injuries and sparking body, his massive form crashes into the Autobot leader. They fall over into the sand, the ground shaking underneath them as everyone backs up. While the clones and Luminara secure Poggle, Anakin and Obi-Wan ignite their lightsabers and join the fight. Anakin slashes at Megatron's leg, trying to sever it, but this time Megatron is ready and kicks and sweeps his leg towards him, forcing the young Jedi back. But while he backs away, Obi-Wan thrusts his lightsaber at his ankle. Megatron howls in pain, shoving Optimus aside and tries to punch Obi-Wan. But the Jedi leaps aside, and the two use their superior speed to dodge the attack. They whirl and dodge around, leaping through the sand as Megatron snarls. However, neither one manages to land a serious blow. Optimus leaps onto Megatron's back and wraps his arms around him, shoving Megatron aside.
You won't win, Megatron. We'll see about that.
Megatron slams his foot against Optimus's, then headbutts him. With Optimus stumbling back, he turns his attention to the Jedi, who leap at him. He blocks their attacks with his forearm and then snatches them in midair. He begins to squeeze them and laughs, and begins crushing the life out of them. Suddenly, Optimus's fist slams into Megatron, forcing him to let go. He grabs the Jedi in midair and drives the Allspark into Megatron's chest. The Allspark's energy surges through Megatron's body, causing him to convulse and scream in agony.
This is for all the lives you've destroyed.
With a final burst of energy, the Allspark embedded itself deeper into Megatron, causing an explosion of light and energy. Megatron's form begins to break apart, dropping into the sand as his chest dissolves into ash, while all that remains of the Allspark is a single shard. Optimus gingerly picks it up and holds it close.
We must ensure this does not fall into the wrong hands.
The battle is won, but the war continues. But thanks to you, we are safe, and Megatron is defeated. Thank you.
As the survivors of this battle look on to what remains of the Allspark, they signal for a ship to pick them up, ready to hunt down the remaining Decepticons. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.